What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And 28-year-old Takeoff, whose real name is Kersnick Kari Ball, is dead. If you're not familiar with who Takeoff is, he is one-third of the group the Migos. So him and Quavo and Offset make up the Migos, based out of Atlanta. I'll be honest, I don't really listen to the Migos. They're not really my style. The whole mumble rap thing is kind of over my head. But this is noteworthy, and stick around because there's kind of some lessons or takeaways I think that apply to a lot of us. So interestingly or ironically, right, Quavo and Takeoff came together under the name Unc and Few because Quavo is Takeoff's uncle, and they just released the album like last month that was called "Only Built for Infinity Links." So take that for what it is. So the details, right? Takeoff was shot in the neck or head around 2:30 this morning in Houston. There was a private party for Jazz Prince, who's the son of Rap A Lot founder Jay Prince Sr., over at 810 Billiards and Bowling in Houston, right? So 810 normally closes at midnight on Mondays. They stayed open till around 1:30 or 2. So they were closed when this happens, but a group from the party was shooting dice on the third floor balcony, and around 2:30 in the morning, shots were heard by nearby security guards. They know that, but they're not going to be disrespectful like they want it. They have to be disrespectful. I'm not about no basketball, bro. You just play basketball. You just saw me play basketball. Y'all niggas just in this gym. Play like that, bro. Don't play like that, bro. Hey, let go. I ain't finna sit. So there's police dispatch audio saying that a caller reported hearing 5 shots and saw people running. Then there's also 911 audio from Quavo asking the dispatcher, "Hey, what do you want her to do?" Referring to a woman that was on the scene that was there who said she was a nurse and she was trying to help, right? Um, so there's also some texts which have surfaced. This stuff is all public, right? That claim at least to have outlined what happened. And so I'll go ahead and show those and I'll read them at the same time. So it says, so Quavo was shooting dice and he was getting his pockets broke off bad. So dude had an attitude and he tried getting aggressive with the wrong mob ties person. I'm not gonna drop names. And dude got on his ass. Then somebody they was with jumped up, and that's when everybody bunched up and then shots just started ringing. But they were coming from somebody Migos was with. But he was shooting wild and hit Takeoff on accident. And the other dude started shooting back, and I think he got hit again. But ultimately, his own person killed him because when he got hit the first time, I seen his body just drop. Quavo was plexed over some small shit. It really wasn't worth it. Takeoff was the coolest, quietest person in the room the whole time. He wasn't saying a word, just chilling in the cut. He didn't even know what was going on. He just jumped up and got shot out of nowhere. Houston for sure about to be a no-fly zone though, because mob's supposed to be protecting these artists, right? So that's the end of the text messages. Um, I don't know, how accurate this stuff is, but some of the details are confirmed from other sources, such as the fact there was a dice game, there's video, um, there's some confirmation who some of the people were that were there. Uh, People are saying though that Jazz Prince himself was not there at the dice game when this happened. His brother, Jay Prince Jr., was. So remember in September, Chicago-based Duke the Jeweler went to a Boozy Badass concert in Houston and then was at an after-party dice game with Jay Prince Jr. and others. Um, Duke was wearing like $1 million of his own jewelry, and then he was robbed and killed on his way to his car after that, right? So rumor is he was winning, he was high siding, he was showing off. Rumor here is Quavo was losing and was bitter, and that's what led to Takeoff's thing. Uh, Robbery I haven't seen it suggested as a motive in any of the public stuff I've seen. But regardless of what the details come out to be or not be, what we do know is the rapper Takeoff, multimillionaire, is dead, and it didn't have to be that serious, right? So a little background on Prince family, just briefly, right? there was a time when very little happened in Houston without Jay Prince Sr. knowing, and nothing happened that he couldn't influence if he wanted to, right? So he's the founder of Rap A Lot Records. Um, he's made a ton of money in various business ventures, from cars to real estate to you name it. He's very philanthropic. They got a day named after him in Houston, right? Which is Jay Prince Day. He's a factor, right? He was under investigation by the feds for a long time, claiming that he was involved in some illegal stuff. None of that was ever proven. There's been lots of talk and chatter about the dude, but he is a factor. Floyd Mayweather is up under his boxing gym in the Fifth Ward. So, anyways, a while ago, right, Jay Prince Sr. put it out there on social media. There was a rapper that got robbed in New York City who was an affiliate of Rap A Lot and had a Rap A Lot chain. That dude was robbed. And so Jay Prince put it out there, hey man, I expect for that to be returned. I take this as personally coming after my family. And he got dogged for it, right? He got dogged for it on social media. A lot of people clowning. The people who claim responsibility for the chain were clowning. And so that kind of surprised people, right? And got some older folks talking and thinking, is that just a case of young people not respecting OGs, so to speak? Or was this an OG in Jay Prince Sr. who had kind of an overinflated sense of himself and who he was in the big picture now compared to years back? I don't know which it is. Probably a little mix of both. It should be noted though that chain got returned. So Jay Prince Jr., right? A lot of people on social media are pointing out that he was with Takeoff at a dice game when Takeoff got killed, and then in September he was at a dice game with Duke, and then Duke ended up getting killed, right? And there is somebody in the Takeoff video. There's a person that's walking past the body of Takeoff and says something to the effect of "Get me out of here and don't ask me anything," right? And it's being alleged that that person is Jay Prince Jr. So Jay Prince Jr. started this thing, Mob Ties, which is a label, it's a crew connected to Rap A Lot, and he's really stepped in his father's shoes when it comes to the rap game, right? So to me, it's no surprise that when these big name rappers come from out of town and they come to Houston, that they're in spots where he's rubbing shoulders with them and vice versa, right? So I don't think I think that's just kind of being played and exaggerated, but I don't think there's any evidence that I don't think that counts as evidence that he had anything to do with anything, right? So what can we take away from this? Let's say that it was someone in the Migos camp who shot first, right? But if you bring a hood dude with you, he's liable to do some hood shit. They either don't realize or don't care what's at stake when you're moving in a whole different arena than the streets, right? Or at least what's supposed to be and should be a whole different arena than the streets. But even if you don't bring some hungry hood cat there, guaranteed they're in the vicinity, right? Like, there was some millionaires playing dice yesterday, and most of the people were not, right? I'd say probably a lot of them didn't even have 100,000. So just because you're famous and you're used to being the most important person when you walk in a room and everybody kind of wants to make you happy, right? Doesn't mean that everybody's a fan, you know? Uh, Rappers nowadays signing to major labels have to also sign an insurance policy, you know? And the same principles on the Takeoff situation, right, applies to those of us that are not millionaires. Except the streets don't offer that same insurance policy. So let's say you've left the real lifestyle of the streets alone. You outgrew it or whatever the case may be. If you're posted up in front of the liquor store with the fellas who have not left it alone, you're at much increased odds that some street shit's gonna happen and you're gonna get caught up in the middle of it, right? Because at that point you don't have a choice, you're there, right? So it's going to influence you one way or another. Um, so it's cool. People talk about, I always want to stay connected to my neighborhood and this and that. It's a beautiful thing. right? Whether you continue to live there or you don't, you should stay tapped in, right? Especially if you have some resources or if your lifestyle is an example of what is possible coming from that community in a healthy way, you should, right? But when you go there to post up, man, kick it with people your age. Go hang out in a garage or something, or have a backyard party to, watch the football game. Like, it's if you're gonna be out there on the corner stuff's gonna happen, man. Leave that to the corner boys, you know. And then be there to help those corner boys if and when they get to the point where they don't want to be on the corner anymore. My last point, I don't know if the Migos came up shooting dice in the hood, uh, or they just kind of watched it from the porch and were caught up in trying to do this music thing from a young age. I don't know, right? They're all related. They all grew up together, so I don't know. But if they did have street experience shooting dice, then I kind of get it where like this is a chance to get away from the bright lights and all the obligations of being this star, right? And just get back to having some good old fashioned fun, like you're in the neighborhood. Um, I have been a part of a few and witnessed many dice games in the neighborhood, and a lot of them can turn from fatal or at least fun to violent real quick. And so we have this nostalgia of like, oh man, I want to do what I used to do when I was younger, when we were just kids out there having a good time. Okay, but you got to take the good with the bad, right? If you want to engage in activities reminiscent of the hood with some folks from the hood, then you also got to assume that some hood type stuff might happen, right? Now let's say they didn't. Let's say they didn't grow up shooting dice. Then it's another case of folks who, after they become successful rappers or entertainers, or they get a little name, then they get into the hood stuff that they didn't participate in when they were younger. And I don't mean to say all dice games are hood stuff, but you guys know what I mean. Don't jump in the comments nitpicking. You get it, right? So, anyways, there's lessons, man, to be learned. It's unfortunate that Takeoff is dead. He had a lot of people that loved him. Obviously, a lot of people care about him. There's a lot of folks from the music industry expressing their condolences on every social media platform imaginable. And it's unfortunate, man, because people are harmed by his passing. Uh, and there's nothing more valuable than a human life, if you really think about it. There's nothing more valuable than a human life. And that'll be a part of a series coming up towards the end of the month. But anyways, help others move in excellence, man. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it, and help your community because they need you. Check out the other content. There's plenty of it. Talking about all sorts of different stuff. Like, subscribe, the rest of the thing YouTube folks want you to do. And have a good one.